Welcome to Audiobook 365 Stories.
The house in the valley was a mile from anywhere. That's what the people in Maywood said. Ellen Green said it was the loneliest place in the world and promised she wouldn't stay there even one day if she didn't feel sorry for the child. Emily didn't know that people felt sorry for her and didn't know what loneliness meant. She had a lot of friends. There was Father and Mike and Saucy Sal. The Wind Woman was always around too. And there were the trees, Adam and Eve, the rooster pine, and all the friendly lady birch trees. And there was the Flash too. She never knew when it would come, but she was always excited and waiting for it. Emily quietly went out for a walk in the cool evening. She always remembered that walk for the rest of her life, maybe because it had a strange beauty, maybe because the Flash came for the first time in weeks, or maybe because of what happened after she came back. It had been a gray, cold day in early May. It looked like it would rain, but never did. Father had stayed on the couch in the sitting room all day. He coughed a lot, and he didn't talk much to Emily, which was very strange for him. Most of the time, he lay with his hands behind his head, his large, sunken, dark blue eyes looking dreamily at the cloudy sky between the branches of the two big spruce trees in the front yard. They called the trees Adam and Eve because Emily thought they looked like Adam and Eve in an old picture in one of Ellen Green's books. The small apple tree between them was like the tree of knowledge, and Adam and Eve stood stiffly on either side, just like the spruce trees. Emily wondered what Father was thinking about, but she never asked him questions when his cough was bad. She only wished she had someone to talk to. Ellen Green didn't want to talk that day either. She only made grunting noises, and that meant she was upset about something. She had grunted last night after the doctor whispered something to her in the kitchen, and she had grunted again when she gave Emily a snack of bread and molasses before bed. Emily didn't like bread and molasses, but she ate it because she didn't want to hurt Ellen's feelings. Ellen didn't usually let her eat before bed, so when she did, it meant she was trying to do something special. Emily thought that Ellen's grumpiness would go away overnight, as it usually did, but it hadn't, so there was no one to talk to. Not that Ellen was much company anyway. Douglas Starr, in a moment of frustration, once told Emily that Ellen Green was a fat, lazy old woman who didn't matter, and after that, whenever Emily looked at Ellen, she thought it was true. So, Emily curled up in the old, soft, worn-out wing chair and read The Pilgrim's Progress all afternoon. Emily loved The Pilgrim's Progress. Many times, she had walked the straight and narrow path with Christian and Christiana, although she never liked Christiana's adventures as much as Christian's. One reason was that Christiana always had so many people with her. She wasn't as interesting as the brave, lonely Christian who faced the shadows of the dark valley and fought with Apollyon all by himself. Being in the dark with scary things wasn't so bad when you had friends, but being alone, Emily shivered with a thrilling fear at the thought. When Ellen said supper was ready, Douglas Starr told Emily to go eat. "I don't want anything tonight. I'll just rest here. And when you come back, we'll have a real talk, Elfkin," he said. He smiled at her with his old, sweet smile, full of love, which Emily always found so comforting. She ate her supper happily, even though it wasn't a very good one. The bread was soggy and the egg wasn't cooked well. But for once, Ellen let both Saucy Sal and Mike sit beside her at the table, one on each side. Ellen only grunted when Emily fed them tiny pieces of bread and butter. Mike was so cute when he sat up and caught the food with his paws, and Saucy Sal had a funny way of touching Emily's ankle with her paw when she thought it was her turn for food. Emily loved them both, but Mike was her favorite. He was a handsome, dark gray cat with big, owl-like eyes. He was so soft, fat, and fluffy. Saucy Sal, on the other hand, was always thin. No matter how much she ate, she never got any bigger. Emily liked her, but didn't like to cuddle her because she was so skinny. Still, Saucy Sal had a strange kind of beauty that Emily found interesting. She was gray and white and very smooth, with a long, sharp face, long ears, and very green eyes. She was a tough fighter and could beat any strange cat in one fight. She was so brave that she even chased dogs away. Emily loved her cats. She had raised them herself, as she proudly said. Her Sunday school teacher had given them to her when they were kittens. "A living present is so nice," she told Ellen, "because it keeps getting better all the time." But Emily was a little worried because Saucy Sal didn't have kittens. "I don't know why she doesn't," she told Ellen Green. "Most cats have more kittens than they know what to do with." After supper, Emily went back and saw that her father had fallen asleep. She was happy about it because she knew he hadn't slept much for 2 nights, but she was also a bit sad that they wouldn't have their real talk. Real talks with her father were always so fun. But the next best thing would be a walk, a nice, quiet walk all alone through the gray evening of early spring. It had been so long since she had gone for a walk. "Put on your hood and make sure you hurry back if it starts to rain," Ellen warned. "You can't mess around with colds like some kids can." "Why can't I?" Emily asked, feeling a bit upset. Why was she not allowed to mess around with colds if other kids could? It didn't seem fair. But Ellen only grunted. Emily muttered softly to herself, "You're a fat old person who doesn't matter." Then she went upstairs to get her hood, even though she didn't want to, because she loved running outside with her head bare. She put on the old blue hood over her long, thick braid of shiny black hair and smiled at herself in the little, greenish mirror. The smile started at the corners of her lips and slowly spread across her face in a soft and special way, as her father, Douglas Starr, often noticed. It was her dead mother's smile, the smile that had caught her father's heart when he first met Juliet Murray. That smile seemed to be the only thing Emily had gotten from her mother. In every other way, she looked like the Starr family, with her big, purple-gray eyes, long dark eyelashes, black eyebrows, and her high white forehead, which was a bit too high to be called pretty. Her pale, oval face and her sensitive mouth were also like the stars, and her little ears, which were slightly pointed, made her look like she belonged to the fairies. "I'm going for a walk with the Wind Woman, dear," Emily said. "I wish I could take you with me. I wonder if you ever get out of that room. The Wind Woman will be out in the fields tonight. She is tall and misty, with thin, gray, soft clothes blowing all around her and wings like a bat's, but you can see through them, and her eyes shine like stars through her long, loose hair. She can fly, but tonight she will walk with me across the fields. She's a great friend of mine, the Wind Woman is. I've known her since I was 6. We're old friends, but not as old as you and I, little Emily in the mirror. We've been friends forever, haven't we?" Emily blew a kiss to the little Emily in the mirror, then ran out of the house. The Wind Woman was waiting for her outside, ruffling the little blades of grass standing up stiffly in the flower bed under the sitting room window, shaking the big branches of Adam and Eve, the trees, and whispering through the light green branches of the birches, teasing the rooster pine behind the house. The tree really did look like a giant, funny rooster with a big, bushy tail and a head tilted back as if it was about to crow. It had been so long since Emily had gone for a walk that she was thrilled with happiness. The winter had been so snowy and stormy that she wasn't allowed outside, and April had been full of wind and rain. So on this May evening, she felt like a prisoner set free. Where should she go? Should she walk along the brook or across the fields to the spruce trees? Emily chose the fields. Emily loved the spruce barrens at the far end of the big, sloping field. It was a place where magic seemed to happen. She felt more like she belonged to the world of fairies there than anywhere else. No one who saw Emily running across the bare field would feel jealous of her. She was small, pale, and dressed in poor clothes. Sometimes she shivered in her thin jacket. But a queen might have given up her crown to have Emily's dreams and visions. To Emily, the brown, frosty grass under her feet felt like soft velvet. The old, twisted, half-dead spruce tree she stopped under seemed like a tall marble pillar in a palace of gods. The faraway hills were the walls of a city of wonders, and Emily had all the fairies of the countryside as her friends. She believed in them here, the fairies of white clover, the little green people of the grass, the elves of the young fir trees, and the spirits of the wind and wild ferns. In the barrens, anything could happen and everything might come true. The barrens were the perfect place to play hide and seek with the Wind Woman. She felt so real there. If Emily could just run fast enough around a group of spruce trees, she might catch a glimpse of her. But no, the Wind Woman was always faster. There, Emily saw the gray sweep of her cloak. Or maybe she was up in the very top of the tall trees, laughing. The chase went on until suddenly the Wind Woman seemed to disappear, and the evening was filled with a peaceful silence. A gap in the clouds appeared in the western sky, revealing a beautiful, pale, pink-green lake of sky with a new moon shining in it. Emily stood still, her hands clasped, and looked up at the sky with her little black head tilted back. She knew she had to hurry home to write a description of the beautiful scene in her yellow notebook. She had to capture its beauty in words, or it would hurt her heart. She also wanted to read it to her father. She must remember how the tops of the trees on the hill looked like black lace against the pink-green sky. And then, for one glorious moment, the flash came. Emily called it the flash, though she knew the name didn't quite explain what it was. She couldn't describe it, not even to her father, who never seemed to fully understand. She didn't talk about it with anyone else. Since she could remember, Emily felt that she was very close to a world of amazing beauty. Between her and that world hung a thin curtain. She could never pull the curtain aside, but sometimes, just for a moment, the wind would blow it, and she would get a quick glimpse of the magical world beyond. She would hear a note of beautiful, strange music. The moment came rarely and went by so fast, leaving her breathless with joy. She could never bring it back, but the memory of it stayed with her for days. It never came twice with the same thing. That night, it was the dark tree branches against the sky that brought the flash. At other times, it came with a high, wild note of wind, a shadow moving across a field, a bird landing on her windowsill during a storm, or the sound of a church song. Sometimes it came when she saw the warm glow of the kitchen fire on a dark autumn night, or when she found a perfect new word while writing down a description of something. Whenever the flash came, Emily felt that life was a wonderful, mysterious thing full of beauty. Excited, Emily ran back to the house through the gathering twilight, eager to write down her description before her memory of what she saw became unclear. She knew how she would begin. The hill called to me, and something inside me answered back. When Emily arrived, she found Ellen Green waiting for her on the worn-down front doorstep. Emily was so happy that she loved everything in that moment, even Ellen, whom she usually thought didn't matter. Emily wrapped her arms around Ellen's knees and hugged her. Ellen looked down sadly at Emily's excited face, which had a soft, rosy glow from happiness, and said with a heavy sigh, "Do you know that your paw only has a week or two left to live?